YouTube, there it goes. Hooray. Alright, we set that to potato. We set this one to potato. Low. Potato. Okay. We've done all the tweeting. We've done all the launching. We've got all the slides. We should be live on all the platforms. Good evening, fellas and not fellas and anti-fellas. We should have a halfway decent show tonight. Let me make sure I've got all of my windows in the right order. I am a little disorganized tonight. Oh my god, I hate when it goes into streamer mode on Discord and I don't know where to grab the window to move it. Because that's cute. Okay, close that. Let's see. Oh, and I guess I can show off fun thing of the night. This isn't going to show up very well, is it? Give me a sec. Like that, I guess. Desktop cam. So you guys should be following the GitHub because we're getting close. Getting close to releasing. We got all this goodness. Gonna have new tools. And installers. Installers are cool. All the chicks dig installers. So I have been busting hump trying to get this out. I'm hoping to have the alpha out this weekend. The tool set, so if you guys didn't already know, we do provide an OHLC, open, high, low, close feed for we provide that for provide an open, high, low, close feed for Eve Mogul. You can do candlesticks on their site. Also, you can just query the endpoint directly if you have a tool that can take it. It's just straight off a crest and then rejiggered and sent along. The next thing we're adding, and the thing that's been the reason to do the whole workup, is I will be adding a forecasting endpoint where we'll generate 60 days of prediction based on the history of a given item. And so right now it's designed to give you anywhere. So I would only use it on Jita, and I would use it sparingly. I've gone ahead and asked a few devs to alpha test with me to try and work out a few of the bugs. I'm worried about handing it over to the general populace, less because I think that you guys can't handle the feed, and more that I don't want to do the extra work to get Gunnicorn running. So it's more I would like you to go through an aggregator or be willing to do some work rather than just point spreadsheets at it, because I'm afraid if this goes to a bunch of Google Docs, my machine will melt down when Google Docs tries to update. So not that you can't. And if you want to melt down your own machine, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to install and run on your own box. So you can do the front end web host Gunnicorn work I refuse to do. Oh, my machine is disgusting. So yeah, it's definitely, it's coming along. We're getting real close. I just got to get the part where it refactors it for output, and then I have to write the endpoint tests. But otherwise, like, okay, let me see if I can get this running on this machine. I think I can demo it here. Let me. That's going to be super teeny tiny. Let me. Can I make that bigger? There, that should be closer to readable, right? Oops. And the OHLC feed is a daily feed. It all it does is move yesterday's price back one so that today's price is the close. Yeah. And yesterday's price is the open to make it. It's totally a hack. It's not real candlesticks. You could do them on lower stuff, but then I'd have to write a thing that actually goes to the database. So, and the whole point of this was that like one of the major pullbacks on this was to make it so you didn't need my database. So let's see, VM. All right, so the cool thing, oh no, you have everything installed, is that I already have all of these Skookum tests running on it, testing all of the back end of it. So the two cool things that this rework gives me is unit tests. That's weird. That was passing when I pushed. I wonder what the hell that problem is. And it also gives permission error. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you, Windows. Something didn't close. So which one throws up? So let's see. We can fix this. We'll fix it on the air. Do it live. No, not that one. This one? Yeah, let's do that one. Source, Prosper API, tests, test crest, utils, and that one's 178. They're equal. Okay. What is your problem? Oh. Not proper syntax. Okay. And then what was the next one that failed? Test crest utils 191. Oh. Oh, because this doesn't get closed. Okay. There we go. That should be green. So, have all these tests, have all of this utility going on, and it has it's hooked into Discord that if anything goes wrong, human will be alerted automatically. So yeah, and you get a coverage report. You get all of the tests run. Where's my forecasting? I'm close to done here. This is the last one I have to work on here, and then I got to fix this. And we will have endpoints up, and it will be. And if you don't like the fact that I'm gating access to the alpha, you can install it on your own Ubuntu system because there's build instructions in there, and you can install and run it on your own box because it's open source. Because that's the deal. If I have to pay for the hardware, you have to play by my rules, but the code is open source. So that's been what I've been working on real hard. Yeah, and like, oh god, this has been so much work to get this standing, but it should be excellent once it's there. So let me fixing crest test close db handle in right cache test relax date time comparison. And yeah, the other thing is there are two kinds of people in this world. People who have who develop on a branch and have like 10 commits in a project, and then people like me who have 200 commits in a project because I'm committing all the fucking time with all this stuff. So, yeah. Should be cool, should be good. I'm hoping I can get it launched. Looking to get already talked with Jeronica over at Eve Mogul, so he should be doing a graph. Talked with Ethan at Atom for Eve. The guy at Atom for Eve. Yeah, Ethan over at Atom for Eve also is getting a key for his stuff. We'll see how fast he can turn that one around, because my assumption, my original customer was Jeronica, and I just sort of assumed that you would pull the data and plot it in line. Basically do a D3 thing where you hit the endpoint, you have the data, you plot the data, you don't do anything extra. And he has some other plans that he wants to go put in, which is fine, totally cool. Happy to have innovation, but might mean it takes a little bit more time to get it out there. And I've offered keys to a few other people like Steve Renukin, who says he doesn't want a key until after the election, which is fine. That's totally his thing. Good luck to him, of course. And yeah, so if you are a dev, not a spreadsheet warrior, a dev, and you're going to use it and abuse it, you're looking to do stuff, not download the whole fucking thing at once is sort of the one caveat. Like, I have not written this in a way that makes it really good for multi-thread. It's kind of possible, but I think you'd have to replace the caching engine with MongoDB to make it really, platform able. This is not designed to go hardcore. This is not like spin up 20 threads and request 8,000 type IDs. You will melt down my fucking system. If you have specifics that you want to go do it with, if you're trying to get into charting, if you want to, work on your R chops, for instance, I would encourage you to go check it out once it launches. And I'll go ahead and take requests for keys. Like, I'm more than happy to go run them up and send them out. Like, I have to run a script to get them generated and added to the database, but like, hopefully, you guys can get some value out of that. And I will have got this dumb Flask project done for work at the time, so everything comes together and it is good. And then I can go dig into harder core stuff at work that will make me cry. So we got about 5 minutes before we start. Let's see, what are we looking at for viewership? A little thin on the ground, so what are we doing? So if you are new to the show, which I don't know how, I'm not seeing a lot of new faces, a couple new faces. Welcome to the show. If you're new to the show, just a quick FAQ. 1, the show runs about 45 minutes. We start at the top of the hour. I don't tend to answer questions during the show, but do feel free to be active in chat. We will talk at the end of the show with and answer all of your questions. And we can talk about stuff in more specifics and be more chit-chatty then. Number 2, all of the graphs here are generated by my tools. Links to get to them should be down in the doobly-doo below to our GitHub. You just don't have access to the databases because I'm terrified of sharing databases online. More a failing of my development than a security measure. We generate all of the plots with R, just the same way that CCP Quant makes his graphs, and we have a Python backend for everything else. Python 3.5 forever. If you want to talk beyond the show, if you like what we do here and you want to get more questions answered, or you want to talk with our community, or just generally hang out with developers and econ people, you should join our Discord. Links should be down in the doobly-doo below. That is the very best place to get in touch with me directly. I do still check my in-game mail and all of the platforms, but really number one way to get in touch with me these days is through the Discord. And then last piece, I guess, before we start, for all of you guys watching on Twitch, I would appreciate it if you hosted us. Get us a little bit more viewership across the rest of the thing. Bring in people who may not have seen us before. I believe it is /host Eve Prosper would let you share the stream, and I would greatly appreciate it. That's my shill for the night. Otherwise, be sure to follow us on all the platforms. We are streaming simultaneously both on Twitch and YouTube. We are streaming at 1080p on YouTube because I don't want to nuke everyone's machines on Twitch. You should follow the Twitter if you want to know when we're going to go live. That's the second best place to get in touch with me, Eve Prosper on Twitter. And that's where you can get the best announcements to some of our more impromptu streams, like office hours streams that I try to do at least once a month. I wasn't able to do it last week, but I'm gonna try to do it this week. It depends, kind of depends what happens. I usually have time Saturday mornings, but if I stream office hours this Saturday morning, I'm competing against Matterall and Talking in Stations for eyeballs, and he's going to have CCP Fozzie on talking the new structures. So I don't want to compete with that kind of draw. You should totally check out Talking in Stations on the Imperium News Network, Twitch. I want to say it's at 1500 Eve time, so it's either 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. So yeah, that's I encourage you to go watch that show. I don't know who's on Open Comms this week, but it should be a pretty good one on Friday at 0200. And I think that's, oh, and then last, I should not forget, I should make sure to have it written down. We're gonna go old school. There's no school like old school. All right. Hold on. Yes, notebooks. So we need to make sure we say tracks, CSM, March 27th. Oh, Rise is doing open comms. See, I should call devs and get them on the show, but this is a bad time slot to get devs in, unless they're the Atlanta guys. So yeah, and I still do a lot of my dev notes on paper, by the way. So just so I can keep a record of my notes, because everything else just sort of evaporates. It's kind of my problem. So looks like it is top of the hour, just a couple minutes after. And we're tweeted on all the things. We are streaming on all the places. Everyone has joined the Discord with links in the doobly-doo down on both the things. We're all just happy, kumbaya, granola eating. Right. Should be. Think I've got it going on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the show. Again, please feel free to share the show with all of your corpies and your enemies and spam it in local and tell your grandma to tune in. And we will get this show rolling. Let me give a couple clicks to get everything in the right places, and we can start making this happen. Oh, that's one more thing to remember. One more second. All right. Let's make it happen. Good evening and welcome to the latest episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host Lockefox, and I'm here with all of the market news that you need going into the weekend. We're going to talk about Plex, we're going to talk about the new mining platforms, we're going to talk about CSM, and we are going to hopefully make you guys a truckload of money. So without further ado, let's get started where we usually do. Talk about some quick show news. If I click the right button, quick show news. Quick show news. So good at this. So I want to thank everyone who is tuned in live. We have a decent turnout tonight watching on both Twitch and YouTube. You can tune in too at 0300 Eve time. That's Thursday night US, 8 o'clock Pacific. You guys should tune in live if you can. If you can't, that is perfectly fine. We do try to get the show up as fast as possible onto YouTube. thanks to our gracious editor, Christopher Mellen. You should throw him a thank you in the chat or in the comments or on Twitter at CGemEve. Also, you should go check out his new show. He's doing Minor Metrics, daily look into the mineral markets, and it is quite good. It's a really quick blurb. He does an amazing job, keeps up the clip, and is looking for new subscribers. So links should be down in the YouTube link below. I'll get that shared around to everybody if you want to go follow. But he's doing a great job, and we totally support his work there. Let's see, moving on. If you want to follow this show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. We should have a blog out hopefully this weekend. Looking to release some new endpoints for you guys. We are going to try and make high-grade forecasting a new feature in the Eve market metas. So do keep your eyes peeled. Looking to get that released, and there's a whole dev fleet thing going on that I want to go share. So do follow us there. If you get value out of this show, if you enjoy what we do, what we bring, and just how much try hard we bring to the fake economics of space economies, do consider supporting us. Our patrons do keep us on the air. This show is ad-free every week. We're on episode 90 this week, and it's thanks to our patrons that we can keep our servers running, keep our licenses paid, keep our editing, and it's all thanks to the patrons. So I got to thank them. If you can give us $1, even $1 goes a very long way. If you want to buy me a beer, that is the very best way to do so. If you can't support us directly, that is completely fine. I totally understand, but do get subscribed. Do share us with your friends. I do like seeing the numbers go up and to the right. And oh my God, I think as of right this second, we may be at 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is something a bar I didn't think we'd actually hit. So thank you everybody who subscribes. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter as well, because I try to get some extra graphs over there. And then the best way to get in touch with me is through our Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo below. Come join us. We've got a community going on there. We are collected quite a few people over there. That's the very best place to get in touch with me and get the very latest in dev fleet stuff and graphs and market thoughts, and get your questions answered. That's the best place to do it. Before we get into the real news, I want to thank Legacy of a Capsuleer. We were on their podcast this last weekend with Rix Javix and Steve Vernukin talking about meta stuff and market stuff and some of the latest changes with Plex. Also, I was on Open Comms with Dirk McGurk and crew over on INN talking the Plex split. That was last Friday, if you guys want to go check that out. Also, you should put on your to-do both Open Comms at, I want to say at 0200 tomorrow, and Talking in Stations, which should be either 15 or 1600 on Saturday, are both having CCP devs in their shows, and you should go tune into them. Open Comms will have CCP Rise, I believe, and I know for a fact that Matterall has landed CCP Fozzie to talk about the latest platform drilling stuff. So do get tuned in, do catch that, because it should be quite a good show. And I know I'm a particular fan. I'm a little sad I missed a chance to be on Matterall's show last week, but he had a full docket and it was a great show. So with that, now that I've wasted enough of your opening time, let's go ahead and get straight into the show. Once again, I got to remind everyone that this is the last week to vote for your CSM. The voting closes on the 27th. So this is your last chance. If you have been putting it off, wait no longer. Pause the show. We will come back. It's perfectly fine. Do get voting, though, because voting is important. The CSM is a conduit for the players to get views to the devs through a better conduit. And especially if you are feeling like the latest round of changes is all null all the time, maybe you should make sure that you put in a vote for people who are not null. So this would be a great chance to remind you who we support here at Prosper. First is, if you'd vote for me, you should vote for Rodin. He is our economic candidate. He was writing for Neocom and doing a lot of economic work. We support his run as my surrogate in this case. I cannot run. I just do not have the time, and Rodin is a much better candidate than I am. Number 2 in our slot is Commander A's. If you are a generalist, if you're looking for somebody who's a little outside the circles to cover a few more bases, Commander A's is our choice. If you are a high-sec generalist, he is the kind of guy that we have on our list for this year. And then last, but certainly not least, is Erika Mizune, who, if you are at all interested in accessibility topics, she's your candidate, and also she is a stunning industry expert. So we support all 3 of these candidates, and I know Fuzzy Steve Renukin is missing off this list. We do still support him, but I didn't get a chance to redo the slides, so do vote for Steve because, again, he is our API candidate, and it's hard to get coverage from anyone else on that front. So I cannot badmouth Steve anymore. I already said my piece weeks ago, and we will move forward from there. With that, the part which all of those YouTube scrubbers are looking for, Plex. We will get to, in the second half of the show, we will talk about the drilling platforms in greater detail, but this flow is going to work out a lot better for us here, just to make life a little bit easier. So let's start with Plex. I'm eating quite a bit of crow on this one as we crawl over the 1.15 billion mark. We were hot into the split news, and we're hot again going into this weekend. This is I find this rather interesting. I have been saying for the last 3 months that it should go the opposite direction. And especially since we should expect a decent amount of shedding once the Plex split happens and all of that RM becomes liquidated onto the market. I think this is a short-term thing. Also, I think this may be hype into FanFest, and depending on what the schedules look like after FanFest, after we see the roadmap and the release schedule, and it should be it. I'm hoping that we turn it back. So make hay while the sun shines, of course. That is one of our mottos. But I'm finding this rather weird to be this high. Again, if we zoom all the way out, we were in this stability regime and have broken out of that quite spectacularly. I don't like seeing this high this fast, but once we get to the zoom in, I'll kind of explain what I think is going on at the moment. So we're on target to hit 1.2 in the next 10 days. I wouldn't bank on it because I think that we're in really unstable, weak territory getting there. But like, I got to tell you guys the best information I have, and like, this breakout is extremely hot. It has triggered our regular analysis, which I don't like. I get really antsy when Plex triggers the other tools in our toolkit, because usually Plex is very well behaved, and this is too hot too fast in my opinion. Zooming all the way in, we can still see that we're a little bit short in volume. Hold on, I'm having the hardest time with throat booger things, so give me just 2 seconds. Let me not hack right into your ears. So what we saw ahead last week, and which I kind of miscalled, was that we saw this shortage right before the Plex graph, the Plex split was announced. And in the meantime, between when I broadcast and Monday, was talking with Rivra, and she pointed out that this dumping correlated better with the liquidation of Rorqual alts, where people are like, well, Rorqual mining's over, fuck it, and they just burn their brains out. And with that pattern in mind, I think that's a much better explanation than the people with their tinfoil castles talking about leaks, because like the scale of this leak means that somebody would have to have leaked the information while the dev blog was in the publishing queue, which means that it had to have come from like the community team. Like there's only like 5 or 10 devs who could possibly do the thing, and all of those guys should be like veterans of CCP who know better than to make a quick buck on leaking some T20 bullshit. So GG Reddit, but we're seeing a similar pattern here again. And if we go, I'm probably going to have to fix this graph because, oh my God, resculpt certificates, why? Markets are looking the way they should. We're seeing, let's do this a little out of order. We're still seeing a lot of supply in the injector market, though that's quickly getting absorbed out of the market. So let's wait through the weekend before we make any brash decisions. There could still be Rorquals liquidating brains in the interim between here and FanFest, which again, like I said, the supplies are pretty short. We'll see where this number goes on the sell volume. If we creep back up to the 2K supply, I expect there to be more upward pressure on Plex. But if we stay under the 1K line, I think that this pressure will have subsided, and we can expect that people are just stockpiling, which I still think is a terrible idea ahead of the split. Again, what's going to happen on split day is that your Plex turns from 1 Plex into 500 Plex, right? And the other thing that happens is all the other Yahoos who have all of this spare Aurum in their brains, who have up to, 5,500 pieces of Aurum in their things absolutely for free, are going to come out to the market with, 1,000 something. Let's see, they're going to come out with nearly 1,000, somewhere in the 850 Plex range. There's going to be thousands of these people coming to market, and they're going to be either selling for a quick buck because the prices are high, or they're going to be holding this for wealth storage and not need and use it internally without actually going to the market for demand. So you get a double shot of half the people are going to sell it right off and crash the market, and the other half are going to stay home and not use any, killing the demand side of the market. So I think we're in for a precipitous fall once this hits. And my hope is that we see this hopefully in the May release. Like, if I were Rise, that's where I'd be aiming for. I'm not Rise. I don't know what's going on internally. I would hope that we get it released right before the major release in June. But again, no FanFest news makes this really hard to really put a timescale on everything. Before we move on, just a quick recap of the skill trading margins. Again, now what we were seeing was a constriction in price and a increase in costs dunking the margins. And now we just see the increased cost hurting the margins here. So this was a bit of a double whammy coming into 119.3. And now we're just sort of in Plex is expensive, so deal with it kind of regime if you are a skill point farmer. Margins are pretty thin, but again, still positive. So life is good no matter what. I'd be holding for a higher price, of course, waiting for this to rebound against the Plex cost, because again, the supplies are just really hot right now with everyone getting out of oracles. Moving on, we were missing a graph, so if you give me just a second. Sorry, Chris, this is going to be a huge hole to edit, so I'm bad. I'm a jerk. I owe you a beer. That button. That button. That button. And that button. All right. Present. I'm a professional. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We are back in the show. Oh God, now what? 2 more seconds. Sorry. I'm going to have to read that later. Okay, so back into the show. Let's talk about market indexes. Things are still looking pretty healthy. Even with the Rorqual nerf, we're still seeing very high net trade values coming through the mineral market. So even with prices rising, we're still seeing the same amount of volume moving around. Also, with all of the extra trade and pressure in the upward price of Plex, we're still not seeing that well reflected in the net trade value. So we're seeing more of a shell game where there's no great influx of Plex. There's no great retraction of demand. It's just that the price and the demand are moving together to negate each other, unfortunately. So this is actually pretty interesting given just how much we've risen in the last week. We've seen like a 10% move in the Plex markets, but we're not seeing that 10% reflected here in the net trade values. Also, I'm still pretty annoyed with how low the ship trade is going, and I would really like to see more ships moving around. Like this is starting to get into creep territory for me personally, where I was hoping that more content would be moving. Like this is a weakness in the PvP market that I do not like seeing. Yeah. And thank you for the host, Eve News 24. Hello, Eve News 24. Just a sec. I am professional. If I say it enough, I'll believe it. All right, so moving into those PvP numbers, again, you can see what I mean that, so this bump up here was Burn Jita, and we're back down to the trillion destroyed per day, and that is lower than we'd expect. We've been seeing 1.1 trillion, 1.2, and on good weekends, 125, 13, and like we just see a really general holding pattern across the board. We see the number of kills dropping down under the 15,000 per day mark, which is again disheartening. We're really seeing a contraction in activity given how active things should be. It's usually a better season. So I mean, you look back a year, we were just about to start World War B here, and if we factor in this bump into the Ascension Age, we should be up near the closer to the 20K mark than the 10K mark, in my opinion. So get killing people, guys. Stop staying docked. Kill some shit. Make some content. The gears of war are what turn the market. So yeah, make it so. Moving on to minerals. Oh, excuse me, one more second. Tritanium was up last week, and it's corrected down this week to about a 4.2, 4.4 mark. Looks like a buy. Again, if you guys want real good zoom in day to day, you should be checking out Chris Mellen's Minor Metrics show. Link should be down in the YouTube link down below. The markets here are a little bit weird. We should be seeing supplies stay flat. If the Rourke nerf was as awful as everyone was lamenting it to be, we should be expecting that the growth we were seeing in supply should have leveled off and stayed even. Like, I was really expecting supplies to stay even at the 32 billion mark. And yet we see it climb to 40 billion, which means we have a lot of downward pressure on prices right now, which means if you're holding Trit, I'd be getting the heck out of it, because we are in range to get back down to 4.0. I think it's a little hard to get there from right here this second, but the prices here, the supply that we're seeing, if this doesn't turn around and start to abate, if we don't start seeing this may be a sell-off of oversupply going on for the last week, is the other possibility. But the prices are in for a downturn if you're sitting on tritanium. Next, looking at pyrite, things are staying steady just under 6.0, heading to 5.5. Again, similar story, just not as bad. We're still seeing hotter supply than I would have expected. Again, I expected to stay closer to the 5 billion line than the 7.5 billion line here on the supply side. And I think prices are going to drift into a 5.5, maybe a little bit lower. It's somewhat tempting or possible to try and get a good buy order in sub 5.5, but I just don't think there is the margin here to really be playing the taxes, unfortunately. Because the goal I have whenever I suggest something to you guys is 10%. And that means if you get a 5.5 order, you're aiming for just over 6.0. And I don't think we can get there unless we see a lot more destruction start to grind through this extra supply. Next, Mexilon, a particular darling of the show, had peaked at 85 last week and is tracking back down to 80. Zooming in, we still see a huge uptick in supply. This looks more like a burn-off than extra miners, because we should expect that most Mexilon is coming from high-sec. It's really the bottleneck in super production, and the expectation of a whole bunch of new alpha miners, let's say, or high-sec miners in general, we should expect that their supply growth should be very slow. That this trickle of new miners should be almost infinitesimal, I guess would be the best word. And we've seen a tripling in supply over the last week, which means that we're in for a drop. So if you're watching right now, I would put a buy order sub 70. I'd put something in a 65 if you're feeling really adventurous, 70 if you're not. Look to try and pick up some of this sell-off, because it looks like we're going to blast right through a floor here, and we may not get all the way down to 70. You may not be able to get to be able to pick it up and feel like you've won. But if you buy sub 70, I'm pretty sure you can get a 80 plus once we get to the summer release. That's sort of my expectation here. It's a bit of a gamble, of course. Don't trade what you're not willing to lose. But I think that this is a particularly good opportunity where we've seen an increase from 50, something in a 50% increase of supply, and prices staying steady means that this hammer, I think, is about to fall. Next, moving on to Isogen, staying steady between 50 and 55. Again, longtime fans of the show will know that I hate Isogen because I'm really bad at catching it. So looking at the markets, we're still seeing that same trend of upward supply, even with all of the Rorquals that should be liquidated brains. I expect us to be under 50, but I don't expect an opportunity to make a bunch of money. So, I mean, gamble against me if you wish. You might be able to make money because of these spikes here, but especially with how weak production numbers have been, I wouldn't want to buy Isogen. Next, Noxium is on a tear. I would not have expected this looking at last week. I expected us to get up to 360, back down to 340, just one of these little bumps like we see here. But we are on a growth path. So before we go into the zoom in, I do want to note that we are above the RSI line here, which means that we are climbing hot and fast, which means this is dangerous territory in line for a reset. Is the lesson here. If you're holding on to it, now is the chance to sell. But zooming in, we see a constriction in supply as less miners are mining, but now a huge sell-off because, well, again, we've added what, 20% to the price of the thing. So we're seeing stockpiles get burned to bring the price down, and we've already seen the buy floor fall back down to 325, and I would expect to be sub 350 by tomorrow and close to 325 by the end of the weekend if this doesn't turn around. Again, it's in a weird spot that I don't know when it's going to break. We could go all the way up to 300 million units, or we could break at 200. It's hard to read this particular graph. Next, Zydrine looking real flat, sticking at 1,000. Things are looking steady. Volume a little bit lean. Zooming in, we see the supply tracking up again, and we've crashed through a buy floor just before the show. So looks like this is a chance to get an opportunistic buy order. If you believe that the Rourke nerf is really going to make people stop mining, buying a 900 million Zydrine would be a decent bet, because what you should expect to see is this is some sell-off. If this is your story, then this is a sell-off. We'll be back under the 200 million line, and we'll be tracking back down to 100 million. And that means that a 1.1K return on Zydrine is possible. I think it's unlikely, but I also have a history of hating Zydrine. So let me go ahead and put that out there, that I think there's a decent play here with as wide as the buy spread has gone, especially if you're watching this live right now. Putting in a buy order at 900K, 910K, 900 or 910, no Ks, gives you a chance to slurp up some of this cheap stuff, and then once the market recovers, once we get through this bump, sell off. Also, it gives you enough room that if I'm completely wrong, you buy in at 9, you sell at 9. You buy in at 900, you sell at 950, and you still don't lose money on the taxes. So that's at least the play I have in my head. Next, Megasite was down at 1350, is trending up to 1450, looking strong across the board. But again, similar story as Zydrine. We see a big glut of supply coming to market and a crash through the buy floor. This is even hard to read from where I'm sitting, and we could be like, I might put some opportunistic buy orders sub 1.1K, to see how far we fall on this one. Again, similar story to Zydrine. This might just be a stock burn, and we'll be back down under 100 million. Price comes back to 1415, and you make your, what is that, 20% on this particular buy order. But yeah, that's it's risky. I don't think you'll lose money playing this buy order if you can get anything filled in it. I think it's a good play for the weekend, but I'd be keeping a really close eye to make sure that the price doesn't crash through your tax floor, so that you don't lose money on the taxes and fees trying to get out of the position. And then last darling of the show is Morphite, which is extremely weak, heading to 9,500 a unit. Looks like a buy. We see a big, similar story, big buyout, supply glut, and again, this one's getting harder and harder to say buy sub 10K, because this really to get out of this position, you need to go. We need war to happen. We need the people to start fighting each other and see a lot more Tech 2 get consumed. And I'm hopeful with the mining chain, with the moon mining changes that have been proposed, that we see the Tech 2 supply chain picture get more interesting, get more dynamic, but that doesn't change the Morphite picture. Morphite's only going to get consumed more if more Tech 2 gets destroyed. Tech 2 getting destroyed means that it needs to be consumed high in the meta. It really requires a lot of players flying Tech 2 and dying Tech 2. And there's just not that many uses for it, because outside of Sov War, the market's willing to produce a lot more than the supply is willing, than the demand is really there for. So if you can get one of these cheapo buy orders, I mean, do it, throw some stock in for the rainy fund, but without any war drums beating, this is really hard to jump on, in my opinion, in the longer term, because I don't know when anybody's going to get paid for all of this work. Moving on to fuel, and this is going to be our first look into my speculation for the moon mining. So moon mining change comes out, and they announce these new drilling platforms. They sound great. I'm a really big fan. I think they are an interesting concept, and I love this idea of the moon fracking coming off the system, coming off the moon, being broken into a belt that needs to be consumed. I love this mechanic. I think it's great to have a passive element and a semi-active element paired together. And so the first thing that comes to my mind now is what's going to happen to isotopes. So zooming in on the dev blog, they talked about, and it was like one sentence, they talk about since reactions are being changed, we're looking at, instead of POS arrays, we're going to add a new industry queue, is what I was reading from the dev blog, that just like you have the production skill and the research skill, we're going to have a refining skill, or a reaction skill, something in that sort of vein. And to make up for the fact that we're deprecating POSes and all of that reaction hardware, we should expect that isotopes be in the recipes for the refinement of these new moon materials. Great, right? Okay, we're all on the same page about that, right? So this means, in my book, that Caldari Ice has to take a dive, has to just go into the floor, because now all of this reaction hardware is going to run fallow. It's going to run until the day the system launches, which, again, I'm expecting June, because if it doesn't release in June, then we have to wait the entire summer until November or October for this release to come out. And then, so what I expect to see is a convergence. And this is the thing I said to our Discord yesterday once I saw the news, was that I expect isotopes to converge on a price around 800. This could be 750, it could be a little bit higher. But what I expect to see is Caldari Ice taking a dive. The Galente Ice already is on a tear. I hope some of you guys bought in. Amar and Minmatar are not dragging up yet, which is a little concerning, especially since hydrogen has lost even more space, which makes me sad. But like in my mind, I have a target of 800. Now that I've said this on the show, of course, we're going to balance out the fact that is this actually going to happen because it was going to happen, or am I pulling a Jim Cramer and using my cult of personality to get the way I want? I'm hoping not the second one. I try really, really hard not to do the second one. But I do expect the prices of isotopes to rise and the prices of fuel blocks to fall. Looking at fuel blocks, we can already see a little bit of that happening here in the nitrogen fuel block. We see an overcorrection from the oxygen fuel block, showing a great margin for once. Oh my God, so nice to see some margin there. Oh, okay. And then we see the prices starting to track down. Now, what we should expect is that since Citadels use rainbow fuel, they use any color of fuel essentially, that who would fuel their Citadel with anything but the cheapest blocks? And cheapest may not be always Mimitar or Amar. Cheapest may be local, so just keep that in mind. But all of these reaction passes across all of Eve are going to get shut down the second this change hits. There's going to be no crossover, as far as I can tell, that we go from one mechanic to the next mechanic overnight, much like the Krios change. And that means that all of those towers are basically going to go dead right away. And so if I were a reactor, one, I would keep reacting, keep making money while the sun shines. Like don't tear it down yet. Your two choices are tear it down now and hope that you get paid back for dumping the sticks, or keep producing and hope that you don't get screwed when they do the buyback. And I think there's better money in running out until the system ends and just taking whatever buyout they give you. And I think that's a better choice given the circumstances, because I think otherwise there's going to be panic selling and it's going to be a big hot potato race. And I can't imagine CCP paying better than like lowest price in 60 days kind of prices. We don't have a lot of precedent for what the prices should be, what the prices are, but we'll see what happens when we get more news. I expect a lot more about this once we get to FanFest in a couple of weeks. I think they've been coyly just filling the news pipe ahead of FanFest, and then they will execute so that there's more to talk about during FanFest. Again, zooming in on nitrogen fuel blocks, this is exactly the pattern I was worried about. We see supplies ticking up 2 million units over the last couple of days. I think we can be at 8 million units by the end of the weekend. I think that's going to drop the price here. I know you can't see the price because it's washed out thanks to this whole Bernjita mess, but I think that we are in for a precipitous fall in nitrogen to get back in line with the new reality, which is good news for anybody who's reacting. It means you guys can save a few bucks on your bills before time runs out. Next, looking across the board at strontium, we see supplies starting to wane. I think this is, again, thanks to the Rourke change, that we're seeing less ice get mined just because of the number of miners out there. Nothing really to see here. I don't think that we're heading for war yet, unfortunately. And if we look at heavy water, we had peaked in supply, but that is starting to turn back. So if you were looking to buy in, now's a decent time to buy in. Again, my scales are a little blown out at the moment, but as this supply starts to fall, I expect the price to rise back to the 700 mark, hopefully, going forward. And we'll see what happens with more mining changes, more of this moon mining changes. Should be opportunities to there have been I didn't get a chance to get them into the show. There have been rumors about Rorqual roll in the new moon mining. So this is an opportunity. It's a gamble. I think this is a case where I don't think you'll lose money, but you may not make money, sort of thing. And again, since I don't have the scales, I can't tell you what buy order to buy in, but this might be a decent opportunity come the weekend. Moving on to outliers. Let's talk about Moongoo. So I was really hesitant. I got asked a lot yesterday, what do I think is going to happen in Moongoo? And I'm glad I didn't speak up, because the market kind of did the opposite thing than what I was expecting. So in my head, I assume that we are just not consuming Tech 2 on the levels we expect, right? So number one, weak Tech 2 market. Fine. Number two, I expect these changes to result in more product coming to market. Now, the way that product gets to market, I think, is going to be more bursty, so we may see more volatility. But the overall number of units looks like it has to go up, given the way that we're reducing complexity and increasing activity. Like, I have a hard time believing that we will see less units of dysprosium, for instance, coming out of these things. So with that expectation that supplies will rise and labor costs will rise and demand will stay flat, like, should we really expect prices to go up? Now, if I had said this yesterday, I would have looked like a big stinking idiot, because, well, the market disagrees with me and had bought up like every frickin' product from dysprosium. Big buyout right at the dev blog, not quite dumping the price. All the way down into platinum, which is still climbing. So what I expected to see was that, so my tinfoil in the sky is that there is still a lot of R32s and R64s out there in the world, in stockpiles, out in Null, in Jita, those kind of things. I expect that there is a significant amount of back supply just sitting in coffers waiting, that had been generated since Odyssey. It's years old at this point, and it's just sitting in a hangar, keeping a net worth value up. And that means that if the price spikes, I expect a lot of this to flood back into the market. So I wouldn't want to invest personally in dysprosium, in neodymium, in thulium. I want to say thulium's one of them. I'm sure someone will correct me. But these high-end materials, I expect that as the price rises, that these stocks will start to come out of hiding, and we will see volumes really outpace the speculative demand. So we're going to dump the price, and I expect that to be a double whammy once we hit the patch, because again, I don't know why to expect anything less. I expect more of this material coming out. Again, without looking at CC, without playing with the mechanics, there's no way to know that. And not enough information has been released. This is purely speculation. But I think this dumps the price. And there's nothing inherently evil about that. But it means that I would not be speculating in these markets. So, the caveat is that I don't think that the R16 market is as well served. So down at the bottom you have R4s, which, like every moon has, they're things like evaporate deposits and atmospheric gases and hydrocarbons. Next thing up are the regional metals. You got your titaniums and your whatever the rest of them are. There's a whole bunch of really common metals that are barely worth mining. And then R16s are where the money starts to make some sense. And like platinum spiked a couple weeks ago, and I sort of wrote this off because I don't really track the R16s. And now with the changes, well, I don't expect as much oversupply in coffers in R16s. They just don't hold the same amount of value given the stuff. And I don't expect as much backstock to be in the market. And I expect whoever's sitting on them I expect them to not be at 100% efficiency. Like, I expect some of these to just not be producing, or, a stick has gone dead and it's just not being used. Like, I expect this to be a much more interesting market. So, if you want to speculate, and you're probably too late to play, but I would be looking at the R16s personally. I think this is going to be the more interesting spot, even if supplies rise. I think that most people are looking up at the highest end of the market and skipping the middle and the bottom. And this would be a decent chance to take some positions without putting down a ton of money. Unfortunately, like, you should have done this yesterday. In all honesty, so. My TLDR for speculating on the new products is, don't buy R32s and R64s. Do buy isotopes targeting an 800, a price of 800. Don't buy fuel blocks because I expect them to drop, and do look at the R16 products of things like platinum and vanadium and. Ooh, yeah, I should have had a list on the thing, but go look at the R16s. Also, another speculative target I have been saying for the last few weeks, if you wanted to speculate ahead of FanFest, PI4 was a good place to do it. We saw some good opportunities here in nanofactories, recursive computing modules, sterile conduits for the last few weeks. And now that we actually see some news on what the new structures are going to do, and we start seeing the hype, look at that? I mean, nanofactories, they're up, 40%? You could have bought in at 1,100 and got out at 1,300. What's that? Oh my God. Like, I think it's a little too late to jump in now. You might be able to watch for a spot right ahead of FanFest streams. Would be the next place I'd be looking for a buy. It's risky. I think a lot of the action is going to be over before it really starts. Once we see the release, I don't expect too much shortage, but I am hoping in the longer term more of these die, so that we see more churn in the PI4 markets, adding to some more industry volatility. So that's my hope there. Next, by popular demand, thanks to Probag Bear and, let me not forget the other guy's name, and Tycho, melted nanoribbons. We saw a lot of action on them a couple weeks back when that there will be a T3 rebalance was leaked, and prices went a little bit nuts and have since recovered. There have been reports of stockpiling and people hoarding and not very happy about the price of things, but, well, this is what you do when you speculate on things with only with the only news being that we are looking at it. Also, not pictured here is the Loki taking it on the mouth. There is that has been dropping in price like a stone. So sorry about that, T3 producers and wormhole guys. I don't know what to tell you. If you're a speculator, I'd be looking for maybe buying in some of these cheap melted nanoribbons. Maybe go out to Amar and put some opportunistic buy orders together if you wanted to jump in the market. But again, I think it's going to be a 50-50 shot on whether you get to look like a turbo genius because T3s will be amazing again, or eating your lunch because T3s are just basically getting a tiny little turn at the rebalancing wheel. Next ship on the rotation is Vexor Navy issues. We've been watching these pretty closely the last few weeks. going into the weekend, supplies are pretty short. So this would be a decent chance if you were holding on to them to get sold. I'd be targeting just over 100 million. I wouldn't go much above 100 million, and I'd take 98, given the way things are. But we're in a particularly weak spot, and there should, like, okay, you could probably get 110 if you're lucky, but like, if you're bought in on Vexor Navy issues, if you are using it as a conversion currency from your loyalty points, I'd be looking for this weekend to be jumping on that bandwagon, because I think it's going to be the best price you're going to see for the next few weeks. Another weird one in my feed this week is the Hecate, taking a big jump up. I don't know who is using Hecates. I have not seen any particular meta around Hecates. Like, I am so confused with this. It looks a little bit more like the supply just dropped off, given the volume here. I didn't get a chance to zoom in on it, but like, this is strange as heck. Like, doubling in price over the last 3 or 4 days. Like, please, somebody IM me or something, DM me with information on why the heck this is happening, because I have no idea. This has been surprising me, and I don't know what to say about it. And then last on our list is the poor Fidos, tracking down. Looks like there's no happiness for these poor puppers. So this is a great chance to go get a Fido on the cheap. Give that pupper a loving home in your cargo hold. A friend for life is a Fedo, and I encourage you to adopt today, given that it's the best time to buy up. Fidos, they're great. Prediction review. I didn't see anything in the usual review list that I thought was interesting this week. Again, we've gone over most of the spots. The place I have to eat the most crow on is the Plex price, because it keeps rising, and I keep saying, how can this be? So let me take my licks on that one. Next, the violence report. Just give a quick rundown of activity across the cluster. Active ships, usual mix that we expect to see. Thanatos back on the list is a little bit interesting. Otherwise, volumes look right. Stratios and Astero have been a little bit interesting in the background stats, but nothing really to write home about. Active systems, Amamake still on the top of the charts. Jita's still hot. VTAC 3 is the new one on my list, and I don't remember seeing anything about VTAC 3, so please, again, in the comments section, please tell me who is fighting in VTAC 3. I would love to know about it. And then blank, because I screwed up and I had a bug and couldn't fix it. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. I want to thank everyone who was tuned in live. We had a great turnout. I want to thank Eve News 24 for hosting us so generously once again. So thank you. Great to see everyone live. If you want to tune in live, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. We are live on Fridays at 0300 Eve time. That is Thursday night US, 8 o'clock Pacific. If you want to get in touch with me, very best way to do so is through our Discord. Links should be down in the doobly-doo below. Before we leave, do remember, if you do enjoy what we do, if you get value from this show, do consider supporting us on Patreon. Our patrons keep this show on the air, keep it free of charge, keep it open sourced, make it possible for this to be here week after week. And so I have to thank our patrons. Even $1 goes an extremely long way for this show. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to give me, yeah, it keeps our servers paid. It keeps ads off the stuff. It makes it so I don't have to worry about it, and it keeps me coming back week after week. So thank you every one of you patrons, thank you so much. If you can't support us directly, I completely understand. It is just a spaceship game after all. Do consider sharing us among your friends, among your corp, among your enemies. Spam us in local. Get followed on all the platforms because, like every good economist, I like seeing numbers going up and to the right. So get subscribed on all the platforms and do come talk with us. With that, I'm going to end the show here. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been your Eve Prosper Show, and I will be back next week with more market news. Bah. I can breathe. It's fine. I'm good at this. All right. All right, and for the uninitiated, this is the question and answer section of the show. So if you have questions that you want to know about the market, now is your time to get them answered. This usually runs about 30 minutes. Afterwards, I do enjoy explaining stuff. If you guys have questions, if you missed anything, you can catch the show on YouTube. It's there for. It's there to scrub through right now, and it will be posted live as soon as we stop broadcasting. And then we should have an edited show out tomorrow morning, thanks to Chris Mellen, which, again, you should go check out his show, Minor Metrics, on YouTube. So, yeah. So, again, feel free to ask questions. I guess I should put there we go, the questions thing. So, Balrogs is asking, do you think skill farming will continue to be profitable? I mean, I have been anti-skill farming since the beginning. That I think that it's free money, and I keep pointing out that it's free money, and it continues to be free money. So, I've sort of given up the chance that that I'll ever be right about this. So, yeah, I think that it's going to continue to be good until it isn't, and I don't think we'll see it turn around unless the mechanics change a little bit. I still think that the penalty arc needs to be revisited. I still think that I would like to see more opportunity to use it as a over 100 million units, under 100 million skill points kind of guy. And right now the penalty is like 95%. And I'd rather see that at 85 or 75, to be completely honest. Because then the problem is that it does cut into the implant market. But unless we actually see consumption go up, I think that we may see things stay the way they are. Mr. Strats is asking about the MACD. So okay, this is going to require visual aids. So give me a sec to pull up a picture. Pictures. That button. That one. That one. Okay. Let me zoom it. Is that going to be big enough? Zoom. Shite. Okay, we're going to get the 60-day. Can I zoom in on that and still see everything? Okay. So, shit. And I can't draw while it's zoomed in. Fuck you. Okay. So, the MACD is this graph right here. That, you guys can't see that. Is this graph right here. And it stands for moving average convergence divergence. And what it means, so one of these is a fast moving average, and one of them is a slow moving average. And the idea is that when they cross, this means something. So so we see this cross here, and then we see, so up, down, and this cross here, and then we'll color code. Sorry, colorblind people. This cross here. Okay, so what we end up seeing is that, now can I zoom in from here? That'd be so cool if I could do that. You won't let me do that. Okay, so what we see here is that the first cross says that we are heading up out of this flat spot. So we should expect a buy order here. Right? Now, and then here we should see a sell order, which is here, unfortunately. And here we should see a buy order, which is here, unfortunately. So this is why I don't tend to like moving average convergence divergence, is that, okay, so let's say you did exactly what this told you, is that you bought at 105, you sold at 11, and you bought at 115, and you're aiming for 120 here, hopefully. Great, fine, whatever. The problem is that let's say you're looking at this and you're not sure if this is actually, like, if you just put a piece of paper over the graph and say, well, is this an actual cross, or is this just more of this? And you waited a couple of days. What you actually get is that you buy in here. And so, like, what you're actually seeing is a margin that looks like this. And I think that MACD is too slow for Eve. I think that MACD is perpetrated by a shared delusion that it works, and it's only mildly helpful. There are items which it makes more sense on. I'm kind of picking on Plex to prove my point. I don't think it's completely useless. And especially if you're mixing a fast MACD and a slow MACD to try and get the best of both worlds, that there are opportunities to use it for enough profit to make make it worth the fact that you're putting less thought effort into it. But like, you go do this on real stocks, and like, it's easy to get convinced, right? You go pull this up on a real stock, and MACD is super sexy, and it's really tempting. Like, it's a siren call, and unfortunately, I don't, like, after digging into it, I don't think it has the staying power to be extremely valuable. So this is me shitting on Chartist for a bit as a Chartist. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure that you can prove me wrong, and I've explained this on previous shows, and I picked wrong before, and like, there are times where this sings and it's amazing and it's totally perfect. But like, for my analysis, if I were going to go run MACD as one of my flagging algorithms, it'd be way too noisy for the work I want to do. So Balrogs is asking about mining in HiSec, and you want to maximize your Mexilon is really the secret there. Noxium is good right now, but Mexilon will always be good as a HiSec miner. That is your bread and butter. That is your competitive advantage in HiSec. So, and like, I give with one hand and I take with the other when it comes to this Chartist stuff. Like, we get down in the RSI, down here, And like these crosses, I think have a lot more value. Not on Plex. Plex is not the right one to do it on. But like here, we'll go find another chart. Oh, there was one that crossed, right? So, and let me get my point size smaller so we can actually see what the fuck's going on. So, like, in Noxium here, for instance, this one proves me wrong on my MACD rant, right? Like, you get across here, which means you're buying here-ish if you got lucky. And you get across here, which puts you up here. So this is a winning play, right? You're going here to here. I really need like a tablet to do this, but you get in this margin, you get these signals, easy mode, autopilot, no problem. You also get the benefit of saying, well, look, this particular rise put us over this overbought territory, and it says that this is unstable, and anything up here should be a cash out point. So if you combine your RSI and your MACD, you're better off. This relative strength index, I think, is really powerful outside of Plex. Plex does not give a fuck about RSI though, so don't use it on Plex. So, and again, we see similar crosses. We see a signal here and a signal here, which again is we buy here, we sell here. Not a great play, but then you get lucky. And in fact, that doesn't really count as a cross, but it would be trending for a cross. Like this is the play you would have expected. I don't know if that's really coming up, but like that's the play I would have expected. I would have sold there thinking the price is going to fall down, and instead what we saw is a bounce, and I should have sold here instead. So I just don't think I don't think this is I just don't have faith in this metric. Now, please go do it. Like prove me wrong, go do it. I have a hair up my ass about it. I have my own data analytic reasons why I don't like it, because I want to prove why a thing works, and I don't really give a shit about falling hammers and double shoulders and all of the other weirdo chartist candlestick reading. I do think that there's some value in it, but it just does not turn me on. It just doesn't do it for me. I think that it misses enough to be troublesome in automation. But it's an opportunity, for instance, to trade in. So you win some, you lose some. So I like the RSI. This is the one I do enjoy because I think it's a useful metric for going too high too fast. Is what this bottom graph tells you, is that dropping down too low too fast here on the bottom, which is scrolled out, but up here we say too high too fast, and these are good boundings for taming your exuberance, for instance. This tailors the bottom line, weathers your pessimism and the top line weathers your optimism. Like I like those lines. I think they're really useful for that. But MACD, yeah, I don't. I have opinions, so this is just the way I feel. And I never really gone into higher frequency candlesticks, because I mean, what we could do, we could just as easily go into here and turn this into a candlestick, because this is just hourly. The problem is that there can be holes in my data, and patching over those candlesticks gets troublesome for the automation. So, effort. I don't love it. I'm a pessimist. I'm a rotten old man about it. So Cam Lynch on YouTube is asking, how much money do you make yourself using the info you have on the markets? And it's 0. I do not trade on my own ideas. Part of it is that I just don't have time. It's hard for me to get, like, you can't play Eve for less than an hour a sitting, right? And so that's part of it. And the other part of it is I'm just so freaking busy, and I'd rather be spending that active time writing tools than making space money. I've hit my space money goals. And my enjoyment in the game comes from making other people rich rather than myself. So if I can make you guys billions and billions of ISK, if I can make it so you don't have to grind as much for Plex, that's success in my book. That's winning in my book. So I don't trade on my own. I don't trade on my own stuff, because the other part of it is that I'm always afraid that I am Jim Cramer, just much less enthusiastic. And I would rather be right because of the data, because of my analysis, than be right because then screw you guys by doing, like, I'm going to tell you to do a thing to make my thing right. Like, it'd be very easy for me to go buy in ahead of a market, go buy positions, for instance, in the isotope markets that I talked about, and say, oh yeah, you got to buy this. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. You don't understand. Oh, it's going to change everything. And this is the biggest opportunity that the community is not jumping in on, me. And then be proven right because I sit here and be cult of personality and then sell off on the backs of you guys. That I'd feel so slimy doing that. I'd hate doing that. I'd rather be right because the tools I made were high enough quality that other people got value out of them and made the money off of that. That I trained the community on how to think more critically and more diversely about the items in the markets. And I'd rather diffuse my knowledge after playing this game for Gorham ever into you guys. So I know that sounds like bullshit, and if you're just tuning in, I can understand why you think that was bullshit. But it's true. I can't. I have no time to make space money. So go make space money. And if you lose a lot of space money, still write me, because I need to know to get better. Let's see. There was another question. Token LLC asked if I still make jump freighters. I've only done jump freighters in very small, specific batches. It's my favorite market, to be completely... okay, it's my second favorite market. First favorite market is Moongoo. Second favorite is jump freighters, just because they are, in my mind, one of the top tiers of industry. It really benefits from having understanding the supply chain. It lets you actually do some stockpiling and strategic building to maximize returns, and it's a extremely huge, like, market that was letting me exercise my entire skill set at the time. So I did enjoy doing it. It is hard. It is not easy, and it is not good money. Not unless you're willing to do a lot more work than I did. But it is definitely, it was definitely one of my little jewels in my experience. Remember, I did a batch of 6 or 8 right around Odyssey with K162 Space. And then I did 10 or 12 with Aderon a few years back, right when they were removing teams. And I leveraged the last few days of teams, essentially, to get some extra margin. So, yeah, it was... I enjoyed. I just, yeah. I'm sorry, Guybrush. No good news for for Trit. Sorry. It's down, 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 down. F for Tritanium. Mirage Sai, is people still purchasing, operating more structures that makes economic sense? I have a hard time. So I have a hard time belittling people who are doing it wrong, like not optimizing perfectly whatever they're doing, whether that's throwing down yet another perimeter citadel or getting into a tricky piece of game that is hard to make money in. Particular place might be drugs. Oh, geez, I totally forgot to talk about, like, Lowsec is mad about the changes, but I had such a great quote too. Jesus. So we're gonna rewind for just a second and talk about how, like, I don't understand why Lowsec hates the new drilling platforms. Because it sounds to me like blacks arguing for apartheid in South Africa. Like that's what it sounds like when I hear it. And I just maybe I'm just too much of a coastal elite, and I'm too out of touch with the low-sec person. I do understand Faction Warfare's complaint that they want to own the space and the turnaround time on citadels is too long for this sort of thing. Like, I do understand the Faction Warfare problem, right? I'm not going to belittle that, but otherwise, like, low-sec does not own many of the money moons that are in their space. Like, I did a survey of, I've done surveys of low-sec space for Faction Warfare when I was living there. I've collected enough intel to know that, like, most of the moons that are worth owning are owned by people who don't live there. And like, there are only a few that aren't, just because I don't think they made them onto the major lists. And it's there's one in Fleet, by the way. I want to say it's 3.5, 3.3, somewhere. I can go. I have a whole list. And it kills me that low-sec is like, oh, well, we're not going to have this thing and it's going to suck for us and we don't want it, when they're not getting any of the benefit from the system today. They're, all of this wealth, all of this value is being exported like a diamond mine, where they get none of the value out of the space they live in. It's hard to hold POCOs against people who can drop Titan fleets on it. It's hard to hold money moons when you just don't have the capital engagement firepower that these bigger entities have. And, like, it pisses me off to watch, to sort of shoot yourself in the foot about the opportunity that if you live there, you can leverage it, far outweighs the detriment of, I didn't get my free lunch, in my opinion here. That's my problem, is that, yeah. And I mean, yeah, Noisy's pointing out that the Thucker array going away is bad for low-sec industry, and I agree. And the fact that nothing has come out about drugs kind of pisses me off. I think that it's one of my favorite mechanics in the game is drugs, and this whole, well, we're gonna go do all this stuff for moon mining, and drugs, boosters, huh? Well, I mean, who gives a shit about those? And I mean, I do. They're one of the coolest mechanics in EVE. They're a great force multiplier for small gangs. I think that people are afraid of them unnecessarily, and they just a year ago fixed the problem with the legalities. So, like, I think it's painfully short-sighted on drugs. So I get that pain. But like, yeah, I just don't. I don't get the. I don't. I understand the pain from faction warfare that it's hard to deny your opponent's space when they aren't those mechanics aren't owned by the faction warfare mechanics. So yeah, I understand their frustration. But the ability to have active fleets actually leverage money moons that are in your neighborhood so that either these null entities who own them have to show up and defend these remote outposts, or you get the opportunity to actually leverage the value of the space you live in, which I think trumps it. So if you're going to FanFest and you're looking for stuff to talk about devs, I mean, the comms channels are open. I know that Rise and Fozzie have been making the press tour, talking to podcasts and have been active on the Slack, and they're always reachable on Twitter and all the platforms. So I mean, let it be known what you think if you're really upset. But I think that some of the there are places to be concerned about, like that. I worry that there just won't. It's going to be hard to balance the actual throughput of reactions over time. Like I'll hold judgment, but like I said, I expect supplies to rise. Like I don't expect supplies to fall, given the way things are going. But not enough information. Please check again later. Shake the 8-ball later. And I mean, the hope, and again, I might be projecting, because I'm sort of hoping that when they were talking about the drilling fracking system, that there would be, I sort of read between the lines to say that there'd be options between bigger, more valuable single shots that take more time to frack, or smaller, quick shots that you can be more day tripper about. And hopefully the balance beam is long enough to say, well, for your low sec guys, maybe you have 36 hours, something under 36 hours for one of the cycles, and you can do that like every other day or something, or you can fill it up for the weekend so you have shit to do. And then for the null guys, they can do much bigger secure operations, because they can say, well, we're gonna go to this system and we're gonna frack A, B, C, and D on a 7-day cycle. And as A finishes and you do that, B will come open, and then once B is done, C will come open, and like you can basically rotate it like a farm sort of system, which would be the sort of system I wanted to see. The thing I'm reading between the lines is they didn't say the times. They didn't say anything about the times. So I mean, it's still possible to fuck up if the fracking time is over 36 hours. So I think that short bursty work is going to work in low sec, and I think there's going to be opportunity to get more industrial in low sec. But again, I don't know. I still expect supplies to rise and prices to fall and net worths to fall, and I just don't know how much extra supply the market can absorb if there's nothing, if Tech 2 isn't getting consumed like it was. Like, I'm worried. I'm still worried about the supply chain here when it comes down to it. Like, mechanically, I'm on board. I think the things are cool, but otherwise, economically, I'm worried that the ISK per hour isn't going to be worth the investment without doing something like bumping up the cost of Tech 2, which I just don't believe that's the thing to do. I don't know it. I don't know. I'm not close enough to this to really know what to do about it. Like if Tech 2 became half priced, what would that mean? It would sure kick a lot of builders in the nuts, and maybe this is me too close to it, that I'd be like, well, my margins would go through the floor, and hate that. I'd be making less money. But it's hard to say. So Token LLC is asking about net worth, so give me a sec to go pull it up. Is that in the game section? Oh, it's lower than I thought. Here, we can pull that up. There you go. 70 billion. It might be that my blueprints aren't in the right places. So, I thought it was like 80 billion more. But yeah, I'm not space rich. I am, for being a market maker, I am surprisingly space destitute. Again, I just I can't, when it comes to gathering cash, I can only give the amount of time it would require to go get to have a trillion ISK. Like, I could probably do it, and I've always been interested in being able to manage a trillion ISK. Like, how do you? That was one of the sort of guiding principles of this show, is how would you manage a trillion ISK? But yeah, I don't have that kind of time. And if I had that kind of time, I really should be real life market shit posting. Which Micron, holy shit, betting on my old company. I made $10 today. Well, I'll make $10 when the market's open tomorrow. I felt like a super genius. Yeah, Micron's earnings came in, and they were better than usual. And man, did I feel smart. So smart. I am so smart. So, like, that's the thing I want to do after the summer, is try to do less Eve content and move towards real life market content, because I haven't undocked seriously in almost a year, and it's becoming harder and harder for me to stay in the meta, given what I'm doing professionally anymore, and my demands on time, and the things I want to do, the things I want to do professionally. I feel like I'm outgrowing the opportunities in Eve. Not to downplay Eve. Eve got me my job. Like, I'm not trash talking, but like, I want to do more Python content, and I want to do more real life market economics content. And this is a fun microcosm, but I feel like too big a fish. And I want to do new challenges. So we'll see what happens after the summer hiatus. I know I'm at least aiming to get to episode 100 here, and then start looking at my schedule and my dev targets and stuff. So expect to be completely active until into and right past the summer release, and then we'll see how things go. We're looking forward to refineries. The industry boys in my alliance have much better reprocessing rate. Like plans for wormhole moon mining. Yeah, I get why it would be kind of cool to have wormhole moon mining. Like, I'd be interested if wormhole moons had a new product stream. Um, like, it'd be kind of cool if you removed the drug gas mining from K-Space and moved it into wormhole moons would be kind of cool, especially since that would mean you could maybe get more types in, so we could get new drugs, because I'm all for new drugs. But yeah, sorry, wormholes don't get moon mining. It's in the lore, therefore we don't have to justify it. Any more questions? More questions. Because we're getting to the end of time here. The heat death of this show. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, and if you're just tuning in, do make sure to follow us on all the platforms, because I will be releasing a forecasting endpoint, REST endpoint soon. This weekend, hopefully, should be the alpha. And then depending on how that goes, we will pick out what the next goals will be. Token is saying, for real life market speculation, buy cemetery plots from people who pre-bought and moved out of state. And anyway, so I feel I'm a little torn for the market shitposting thing, because like, I have all these wonderful plans in my head that if I could get a little bit of tooling up, and I could get a partner to broadcast with, that we could do like twice a month and use a chunk of the Patreon money into an investment thing. But like, the responsible thing to do is just say, hey, welcome to the market show. Invest in index funds. Thanks for tuning in. You're not smarter than the market, and regression to the mean is, nobody beats the regression to the mean. But that's not really an entertaining show. The thing that's sort of stopping me from just launching into a new show, one is tooling. I need to get tooling up. And two is that I am a complete noob when it comes to all this stuff, and so I was hoping to get somebody who could help talk some of the higher end, like, oh, you got to worry about these tax burdens or this fee schedule, or oh, watch out for this history thing, and I just don't know any of it. I mean, want to go learn, but I'd be going from master to Padawan or whatever, and I am happy to do it. I need a partner to study under. So, with that, loud noises. I had, when I originally started the show, I had planned that if I got the tooling up, I was going to do Prosper Investment Bank and do a mutual fund sort of thing. But I never got the automation running the way I wanted to, and then I just became do the show, which is fine. I enjoy it. But again, it comes right down to, like, I just don't have time. Now, the person you should be pitching that idea to is Rodin, who has been streaming lately on Twitch and is doing all these cool things. So go watch Rodin, who is our CSM pick. He's been doing great work, and he's been doing investment banking. He's been doing loans. He is doing great stuff. Yeah, and do ask Probag what he thinks about the T3 changes. Now, I haven't seen details on the T3 changes. That's my problem. Like, I can tell you that the hype is there, and why it's moving is because, people got exuberant. But I haven't seen any news, any real news. So, sorry that, like, until a forum post comes out or something, I won't know. And frankly, when it comes down to like the giant Fozzie or Rise post that's like, oh, we're removing this slot and adding 3% to this and changing this power grid layout, flies way over my head. I'm not an EFT warrior. I just am too far removed from that. So sorry about Loki's, by the way. It's terrible news. F for your Lokis. So with that, I'm going to end the show here. I want to thank everybody who tuned in live. Do get subscribed if you're not already. Thank you, EveNews24, for the host. Thank you, Chris Mellen, for the edits. Thank you, every patron, for your continued support. Thank you, everybody on Discord who gets to tune in. And I'm sorry again about the time change, but blame daylight savings. We should all be on God's time anyway. So thank you again, everyone. We will be back next week with more news. And do keep tuned to see when I get to release the forecasting endpoints. So thanks again. Fly safe.